You're listening to the SmackDown RunDown on the Angry Marks Podcast Network.
Welcome to another edition of the SmackDown RunDown here on the Angry Marks Podcast Network. Yes, it is I, the one and only Nikolai, back again with my co-host Jordan Garber.
How you doing today, Nick?
I am having a hell of a moment trying to continue enjoying my birthday weekend.
Well, yeah, for sure. I heard that you had a birthday yesterday, and I do wish you again a happy birthday, and I do hope you had a good birthday party yesterday.
Thank you. I did. I had a really good time. But it's all over now. Sad face. But here we are, back again, talking about SmackDown. I was unavailable last week, and I would like to thank our producer, Killer Kev, for stepping in and taking the reins, letting the show go on. You two did a fantastic job covering it last week, just as I knew you guys would. So, kudos to you guys for handling that in my absence.
Well, yeah, it was a good time. It was a good show last time, and I'm looking forward to another good one for sure.
Definitely, and that's what we are here to talk about, SmackDown, which is generally a good show. So, what did you think of SmackDown this past week? I mean, the main event was a rematch from Monday Night Raw's main event. We had we had a Divas match, we had tag team matches, but I don't think, in my opinion, that it was anything super important that went on. What did you think?
It wasn't spectacular, but it was a decent episode. I enjoyed it. What about you?
It was good. We had a couple of matches sprinkled in here and there. A lot of feuds that we're seeing continue and develop, which I'll get to in a minute. But I like the main storyline going on that John Cena and Dean Ambrose are both trying to get their hands on Seth Rollins. I find this storyline to be absolutely entertaining. You have Dean Ambrose, who's hell-bent on getting his hands on Seth Rollins, not just for turning his back on the Shield, but, mainly for putting his head through cinder blocks a month ago. And, obviously with Roman Reigns being hurt and having emergency surgery a couple of weeks ago before Night of Champions, now we go back to Rollins and Ambrose. And like I mentioned, Rollins put Ambrose out with, the curb stomp through cinder blocks, and now Ambrose is back trying to get his hands on him. In the meantime, Seth Rollins cost John Cena the WWE World Heavyweight Championship by interfering in the match, and now Cena wants to get his hands on Rollins. I like this storyline because it's leading to Ambrose and Cena both wanting to get their hands on Rollins and not cooperating with each other on who gets to get him first. So I'm enjoying that part of it.
I like it too because you have the feud between John Cena and Seth Rollins, and then you got a little mini feud between Cena and Ambrose trying to get to Rollins. It's kind of like a 2-in-1 package. I think it's a really good feud going on. The main question is when is Seth Rollins going to cash in that Money in the Bank, because this storyline he's involved in, it doesn't look like he's going to be cashing it in anytime soon, though.
No, and I hope not. And this is leading to Cena and Ambrose most likely going to have a match with each other, and the winner gets his hands on Seth Rollins. It kind of reminds me of about 4.5 years ago, I want to say. It was right before WrestleMania 25, maybe 5 years ago, when Shawn Michaels and JBL were trying to battle each other to see who gets their hands on The Undertaker at WrestleMania. It kind of reminds me of that storyline, because I find it funny when two guys have to fight each other just to get to this other one guy.
Yeah, it kind of shows that both of them really want to get their hands on Seth Rollins, and it's going to make it even sweeter for the wrestling fans that get to witness those two eventually for a good period of time, attack Seth Rollins and get their hands on him.
Yeah, so I think this is pretty good. I mean, on Monday Night Raw, we saw both Cena and Ambrose team up to face Orton and Kane, and that ended with the three of them, Ambrose and Cena getting attacked 3-on-1 by Rollins, Kane, and Orton. You know, they all received an RKO, a choke slam, and a curb stomp, one by one. And so on SmackDown, we had a rematch of that, but SmackDown started with Cena and Ambrose, you know, just talking about how they want to get their hands on Seth Rollins. And Cena had asked for a truce up until that point, but Kane and Orton decided to play along and just try to make Ambrose and Cena hate each other more by just mentioning all the stuff that they talked about them behind their back. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty cool too. I have to agree with that.
But the first match of the night, we saw champions team up. You know, Intercontinental Champion Dolph Ziggler and United States Champion Sheamus teamed up to face The Miz and Damien Mizdow in tag team action. And I thought this was a really good match, and this looks like it's the start of a Sheamus and Miz feud. What do you think?
I could see it happening after what happened on Raw when Triple H scheduled Mizdow to be in a match with Sheamus. I could see a Miz and Sheamus feud, but they wouldn't be all that. Well, it'd be all right. It wouldn't be the greatest feud of all time, of course, but it would be a feud. I don't know if I could see that happening exactly now, but we're going to have to wait for me, I'm going to have to wait till Monday and Friday, the next Monday and Friday, to see what happens if there is a feud coming up.
Yeah, because, like you mentioned on Raw, they had, Mizdow had a match with Sheamus, and Sheamus got the better of him and had a little stare down with The Miz after. So on SmackDown in this tag team match, Mizdow got beat up at the end. He got hit with a zigzag. And in the meantime, outside the ring, Miz hit Sheamus with a steel chair, and Sheamus wanted to get back at him, but Miz got away. So it looks like they're starting a feud over there. And I don't know, I hope Miz does not win the United States Championship. You need to get Miz away from titles for now, but I think Sheamus would pull out the win anyways, because he might be getting into a feud with someone else, possibly Rusev, just to heat up the Russian against the American storyline that he's been doing.
Yeah, for sure, and I totally know what you mean. And if you're referring, again, if you don't mind if I sidetrack to the Big Show and Rusev feud, I like how it's going because Big Show's a giant. He's the largest man to ever step in a wrestling ring in history. Well, actually, that's a lie. What I just said. There is Haystacks Calhoun, who was like 750 pounds, but actively right now, Big Show is one of the biggest wrestlers to step in the ring. So, seeing that against Rusev, it should be something really interesting to see, and it's a whole good way to show the U.S. versus Russia feud. I don't like how WWE apologized, and all due respect to the listeners from Russia, if there is any, but when Big Show tore down the Russian flag, they don't have to send down an apology. I think the Russian people would understand it's just a storyline, you know what I mean? It's not like the Chris Jericho Brazil flag incident. All he did was tear down the flag. He didn't do anything to disrespect it. He didn't spit on it. He didn't do anything. It's just part of a feud. Do you agree with that, or do you think they did the right thing by making an apology?
I've gone back and forth in my head about this. I do and I don't agree with it. I mean, I can understand why they would, WWE.com, why they would apologize.
Yeah,
but I don't know if it was necessary. It's, like I said, no disrespect to anybody, but I mean, the Big Show made a point when he said, how would you feel if someone did that to Old Glory, the American flag, or for you, how would you feel if someone did that to the Canadian flag? It's to America, when a flag is on the ground, it's a desecration of the flag. It's un-American to do so. So you look at it, maybe it's the same in other countries and other cultures. How would you feel if that happened to you type of situation? So that's why I feel like the apology would be necessary. And it's like, all right, that's completely understandable. But the way Big Show put it made it make more sense on why they made the apology. It's the whole thing of how would you feel if that happened to you, if that happened to your flag. And when Rusev and Lana came out and they wanted, a personal apology to themselves, Big Show put it in perspective that I wholeheartedly agree. He said, I apologized to the Russian people that I may have inadvertently disrespected. For that, I'm sorry. However, as far as an apology to you, I disrespected you both on purpose. That line right there, I loved that he said that. Just the fact that
too, yeah.
He didn't mean to respect a whole nation, a whole country. He just meant to disrespect him on purpose.
And that's the way he said it was perfect. And Big Show's been in the business for a long time. He knows what to say to get out of things, and the way he said it, I think all tension is okay between Russia and the WWE, and it's like the propaganda. If you see all the stuff that you hear about Russia and WWE, or how they're like, it's not all bad. Like, it's like every country. Russia's probably in some ways just as normal as some other countries. People still go to work every day. There's still society, civilization, of course. So, it's just a little kind of like the Rocky IV thing where Russia is battling the U.S. in the storyline, and it could be heated. So I guess too much adrenaline happened, and he apologized. But I did like how he said to Rusev about how he meant to disrespect him on purpose. And I can totally agree with you with that. He just made a good point there.
Yeah, so I like this feud here. What I don't like is the possibility of Rusev defeating Big Show. I wanted Mark Henry to win. I wanted Jack Swagger to win. I want Big Show to win, but I'm afraid of that not happening. Just Rusev just dominating all these guys and getting the heat on him. It's perfect professional wrestling storylines that the bad guy always wins. I mean, it works on some levels, and the fact that, like I mentioned, he might be going over on Big Show in this feud, which they will have a match on Monday Night Raw coming up, I want to mention. If Rusev beats Big Show, there's a possibility of him challenging Sheamus for the United States Championship and having that title, and like I said, furthering his feud with America.
Yeah, that would be interesting for sure. Can you imagine the U.S. title on Rusev? That would piss people off.
I can imagine that, but I think it's too little too late. Like, they should have put the United States title on Jack Swagger during the 4th of July, Independence Day, and then have Rusev defeat Swagger for the United States, around that time. It would have made more sense, because that's, the super American celebration and disrespect to America to win the title around that time. So, like I said, if they had done it earlier, I think it would have made more sense. But as of this point, I don't know. I feel it's a little too late. There's also talk about Rusev maybe having a feud with John Cena. So you don't know where they're going to go. They always change their minds before the last minute. So, like I said, it's a toss-up. You don't know which way they're going to go. I just want someone to defeat Rusev badly.
I'm sorry. I don't want to see a feud between John Cena and Rusev again. And the last thing I want to see is another feud between John Cena and Beast. He's had too many of those in his career. But like I said, they could have put the U.S. title on Jack Swagger on Independence Day. But the thing is that the U.S. title has been so not even relevant right now in WWE that it's probably going to be retired. That's my guess, because it's not even that popular anymore in WWE. Sheamus has the U.S. title. When has he defended it since? On TV, not at a house show, but like actually on TV. I don't think he's ever defended it in a long time.
Well, the last title defense was 2 weeks ago at Night of Champions pay-per-view.
Yeah, but that was
but
one,
before
right?
then, it's been a non-factor, and you know, I wish it was on someone else. I wish Cesaro had won the title. Maybe Cesaro is going to have a feud with Dolph Ziggler for the Intercontinental Championship. It looks like, he's been having his problems with Dolph Ziggler lately, but when it comes to Sheamus, like I said, he looks like he's starting a feud with The Miz, and as much as I want Sheamus to lose, as much as I want the title to go to someone else, The Miz is not that guy that I want.
I don't want to see The Miz win another title, and I did make that mistake by saying that Sheamus did in fact defend it at Night of Champions, but he rarely defends it. That's the point.
Yeah.
And The Miz, he's won the Intercontinental title already. He's won the U.S. title before. I think a few times. It's ridiculous. I don't want to see The Miz win another title. I just want to. And man, imagine if The Miz won the Intercontinental title again. That would be awful if that happened this week. So it would be awful. So I don't want to see The Miz win another title. It's just going to be, to be honest, I would consider it a bore fest if The Miz wins a title again. People are going to be like, change the channel.
I know, and the fact that he won the Intercontinental Championship at Night of Champions, but then lost it the next night, I was groaning when he won the Intercontinental Championship at Battleground, and then he won it again at Night of Champions. But, I don't know what it is. I don't know why. I don't know how. Miz has had all these title reigns, and he's not that great. He's got a good personality, but he's definitely improved. But I don't know how he gets all these titles over some of the other guys that, we could be seeing as champions. You look at The Miz, he's a former 5-time tag team champion. That's 3 times with the WWE Tag Team Championships, 2 times with the World Tag Team titles. So he's, 5-time tag champion, 2-time United States champion, 4-time Intercontinental champion, and a former WWE champion. Add that all up, that's 12 times. He's a 12-time champion in WWE. So, good for him. He's had much more success than anybody had ever expected him to.
Oh,
but
exactly.
He doesn't really need another title right now. And Sheamus, sorry to say, he needs to lose that title and give it to someone else that could benefit from it.
Oh, yeah. Sheamus, you know what? The U.S. title, it's not as popular as the Intercontinental title, and it's too bad because the U.S. title has a good history. It really does if you date back to the WCW days. And right now it's not even... This is probably the worst point that the title's position has been in. Did you kind of remember the Sheamus a month ago when he had the U.S. title? That strap wasn't even on right. The back end kept on flapping. Did you see that?
No, I missed that.
I don't know. It's just the little things. The title is all floppy, and it's just they're treating the title like a joke because they're not even rarely defending it. Why don't you just bring in a replica belt from the seats, and then you could be a new champion? It's ridiculous. They got to start defending the U.S. title, and they got to start putting a better use to it because right now that future for the title is nowhere.
Quick question before we move on. Who would you rather see as the United States champion?
What would my options be?
Anyone on the current roster.
I could see, I would like to see, I would see Cesaro win it again. That'd be interesting.
Okay.
Cause you know what I think about Cesaro? And, it's funny because I didn't have a good experience with Claudio Castagnelli, who is now Cesaro, back when he was on the Indies. Not the nicest guy, but he's one of the hardest working wrestlers on the roster. He most definitely should have another title run because he works so hard, he's in great shape, and the guy can wrestle. He totally reminds me of that old school type of wrestler, and just to see him win the U.S. title again would be kind of cool.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. All right. So, moving on, we had a Divas match on SmackDown. We had Paige versus Naomi, and Paige came out with Alicia Fox, who she calls her new best friend, as she mentioned on Raw. And, Paige got the win. She actually used the submission, the PTO, Paige tap out. She hasn't used that submission in a while, so I was glad she brought that out. I love the fact that Paige is pretty much currently the only diva on the roster who uses more than 2 finishers. AJ would be the close one. AJ uses 2 finishers. She has the Black Widow and she uses the Shining Wizard at certain times. Paige has the PTO submission hold. She has the Rampage, the Cradle DDT, and she has the Paige Turner. So she's pretty much the only diva on the roster that has 3 finishing moves.
Which is good, because it's good to have a wide variety of moves to show within the ring. It's better to... it's kind of more entertaining that way, because you never know what finish it's going to be if you know that Paige is going to win. So it's kind of interesting that she has 3 finishers.
I know, I love it. And I've always said that every superstar in the main roster, or at least in the main event scene, whether it comes to divas or superstars, but I was mostly referring to superstars, but this can, because this can go for the divas too. But if you're in the main event of your division, you should always have 2 different finishers. You should always have a submission or a standard finishing move.
Yeah, I could agree with that. It's always good to have a, like you said, a submission and a regular finishing move. It just makes it like an example of when I started watching wrestling when John Cena had the 2 finishing moves. It's more entertaining that way to me as a fan.
Right, and even if the second finisher is not a submission, if you have 2 finishing moves, that
makes
changes things
more
up.
unpredictable.
Yeah, and it makes you that more dynamic. You have one finishing move that's your standard one, and then you have a secondary. And when Cena first developed the STF, that was a shocker. It came as a surprise, and then he became a 2 finisher guy. I mean, you look at The Rock; he has 2 finishers. The rock bottom and the people's elbow,
Yeah, I like that's a classic for sure. It's The Rock's a good example of that. And the one thing too is, while doing your finishing move, it's always a bonus to be able to entertain while doing that finishing move. The people's elbow, perfect example.
Yeah, and like even Undertaker has chokeslam or the tombstone, and back in the early 2000s he had the Last Ride, and later on in his career, he had the Hell's Gate submission. Every main eventer should have 2 finishers. Stone Cold, we all know he only had the one, the Stone Cold Stunner. But Stone Cold was I don't know. I can't really say he was an exception, but that's really all he did major.
That's all he needed. That's all he needed to get that impact. Can you think of it this way? Could you picture Stone Cold Steve Austin winning a match using a submission? He's more of a brawler type of guy, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's always good they would never use a submission finisher on Stone Cold because that's just not his type of wrestling style.
And that's one of the reasons why I like this version of Brock Lesnar now, because he not only does he still have the F5, but now he's got the Kimura lock that he uses.
Yeah, totally. And some wrestlers too only had one finisher that was a submission, a submission finisher, which is kind of a bummer. But it's always good if you have one finisher. It would be better to be a non-submission finisher, but it is what it is.
So back to the divas. We kind of sidetracked and digressed, but Paige got the win with the PTO that I mentioned. AJ Lee came rushing down to the ring, and Paige ducked out. So AJ got her hands on Alicia Fox with a Thez press, and then she threw her out of the ring. Paige the whole time was hiding behind JBL and even had his hat on her head while she was hiding. I thought that was pretty funny. And JBL was like, "Give me my hat back."
You know what do you think about Alicia Fox teaming up with Paige to create this little new duo? What do you think? Do you think Alicia Fox perfectly fits this role?
Honestly, anybody could. Alicia Fox is, she's had her time, she was a former Divas champion, but lately she's had a lot of time on TV, so I have no problem with it. She's been in title matches earlier this year when she was. It's kind of funny because she was in title matches against Paige earlier in the year, and now she's her new best friend. So it's, it's whatever. I don't really think too much of it.
Yeah, me either. Like, it's kind of good to see Alicia Fox getting some good TV time again. I always enjoyed her. She's gorgeous. She can wrestle. Well, she's getting there, and she's improving her skills. And you could say this: who's the better wrestler, Cameron or Alicia Fox, right? So, Alicia Fox.
Exactly. Yes, like you said, she's beautiful. She's athletic, and she can put on a good match. I have no problems with it.
I can't wait till you go to the part where you talk about the bunny.
Oh, well, I'm getting there because we had a tag team match. The Usos got the win over Slater Gator, but this was a cluster of a match. It was the comedy spot of the night, so to speak, because as we all know, Slater Gator has had their problems with Adam Rose and the Bunny, and now that they have brought out Hornswoggle as a mini gator. I don't know why, but this works. So the Bunny came hopping down to the ring, I should say, and hopped over Hornswoggle. Hornswoggle ran headfirst into the ring post. The Usos hit super kicks on both Slater Gator, and then the Bunny rolled the Hornswoggle into the ring. So we saw a simultaneous triple splash off the top rope. Yes, the Usos on Slater Gator and the Bunny on Hornswoggle. Yeah,
the type of match like that, that's more like a kind of like, we'll get the kids becoming a WWE fan match. That really wasn't a match for the adults. It was a comedy spot. And I kind of look at this match and I say to myself, what happened to wrestling? It's a funny storyline, though, and you know what? Nothing's happened to wrestling. It's just a gimmick. But I don't know. What do you think? What do you think about the whole Bunny gimmick thing?
It's tough. I want to say it's, it is for the kids. This was a moment to get the kids laughing, and I had no problems with it because, you need a comedy spot at some point in the show just to break up the monotony of all seriousness.
Yeah, true.
So, I really didn't have that much of a problem with it. I mean, it was entertaining to see 3 top rope splashes simultaneously. So, I guess I had no problem with that part.
Who do you think's the Bunny? That's a good question.
Oh, I know who's been portraying the Bunny under the costume, but I have no idea if they reveal who's under it. I don't know who that would be. Yeah,
I haven't really been focusing on the backstage rumors on who it might be. I have a guess, and some fans might know who it is, but I'll just take a guess because this is all new to me. Excuse me. My guess is Justin Gabriel.
Well, they've been using guys like Gabriel or Sami Zayn under the Bunny costume just to, for all the athletic spots. And I don't know if they're ever going to, unmask the Bunny and show who's been behind it the whole time. The rumor was that, if Darren Young is healthy enough again, that he might be under the Bunny costume as a way to get back at Titus O'Neil, maybe. It would make sense because, O'Neil haven't been having his problems with the Bunny, so I don't know. I'm just letting this one ride out, not really focusing too much on it.
Yeah, just a simple mid-card spot, which is not a big deal, or
right.
Undercard, but it's interesting for sure. I can see where it plays out in the next month. It could be something interesting.
Hey, we talked about Cesaro earlier. He was involved in a match on SmackDown as well. He had a one-on-one match with R-Truth, and he got the win over there. No surprise there. But earlier, before the match, I thought it was funny and a nice little nod to the past. R-Truth, when he wrapped his way to the ring and did his usual performance, but before the match, he said, "So where am I at?" And the crowd had to chant, had to yell Milwaukee. If those who remember, 2 or 3 years ago, R-Truth, when he did his routine, they were in Milwaukee, and he shouted, "Green Bay, what's up?" And, Yeah. They were not nice to him on that mistake. So the fact that he did that on SmackDown this week, where he said, "Where am I? All right, well, Milwaukee, make some noise," and I thought that was a funny nod by joking about his mistake.
And it's kind of funny too, because Michael Cole actually brought it up too.
Yeah, so I thought that when I read the reports, I thought that was just for the live crowd, but the fact that they aired it on television, I thought that was pretty funny. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, that was kind of cool. It's always good. I always like it when WWE gives a nod to its past.
Yeah, and they recognize their mistakes.
Exactly. And it's good, like, when you make a mistake, to look back at it and kind of think it's a bit funny, so that was pretty cool.
Speaking of cool, and speaking of Milwaukee's own MLB legend and WWE Hall of Famer, Bob Uecker, was in attendance. I thought that was pretty cool that he was there. He's a old announcer for Major League Baseball, and he was also, backstage announcer at one point for when he talked to Andre the Giant and had the Giant's big hands around his neck, and he gave that silly face. So it was pretty nice having a WWE Hall of Famer in the crowd in attendance.
Oh yeah, that's interesting for sure. I'm a baseball fan. Killer Kev knows that. You know that. And I'm a wrestling fan, of course. So it's kind of good to see a legend of both professions show up at that show.
Yeah, and on Monday Night Raw, who was it? The Reverend Jesse Jackson was also in the crowd. So they've been having celebrities in the crowd lately, and they always have been. But they haven't mentioned them in a while. And this week alone, they've showed 2.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of cool to have some blasts from the past show up.
Well, that's the past, and we are in the present, and we are at the main event of SmackDown. Kane and Randy Orton versus John Cena and Dean Ambrose. And this match had a different twist than Raw. Like I mentioned, we saw a 3-on-1 beatdown on both Ambrose and Cena. So this time, it was a match. Cena and Ambrose were actually working together. They were doing a good job. I guess they had another truce. So they were teaming up, doing well. Ambrose was getting beat down in the ring. Just as he's ready for the tag, though, Cena just suddenly jumps off the apron and runs up the ramp, and we see Rollins is there. So Cena chases him to the back, and that left Dean Ambrose all alone.
And then from that point on, Randy Orton and Kane got disqualified, and they had a beatdown on they had a beatdown on John Cena. Beat down on Dean Ambrose, and then John Cena came back, and that ended the show. But pretty much, it's kind of interesting twist to see John Cena chase Seth Rollins to the back. Kind of a disqualification finish, so that's always a bummer. But what did you think about the main event?
I thought it was good. It was a good main event. Seeing all these main eventers, I'm glad to see Dean Ambrose in the main event on Raw and SmackDown. So, it's pretty cool for him. I'm happy for that. The beatdown on Ambrose was good. This was a perfect setup. We saw the choke slam and the RKO, and then Cena came back. So it's a perfect setup for Ambrose to be mad at Cena for leaving him in the match, and furthering their little mini feud that they got going on.
Yeah, it's kind of cool because I brought up earlier, it's kind of cool to see a mini feud for a real feud between Rollins and Cena. I'm sorry, my goodness.
Yeah, it's confusing.
I know, it's all, oh my goodness, I'm tired too, so names are all mixed up here. It's kind of interesting to see Ambrose and Cena feud over who gets to get their hands on Seth Rollins, so most definitely it's pretty interesting.
Yeah. I like the way it's going. So that was SmackDown. A good show, furthering the storyline with Cena and Ambrose trying to get their hands on Rollins. Then you got Kane and Randy Orton trying to play interference there. So, that storyline's still going. It seems to be the biggest feud heading into Hell in a Cell. Don't expect to see Brock Lesnar at the pay-per-view. Don't expect him at all. even though we saw Paul Heyman on Monday Night Raw at the beginning of the show, that really means nothing. It's just Paul Heyman showing up. But yeah, Cena and Ambrose, most likely you're going to have a match to get their hands on Rollins. Randy Orton will probably play back up to that. He'll probably get the loser. But, it seems like that's the biggest feud going into the next pay-per-view. And then we got the possibility of Sheamus and Miz, maybe Cesaro and Ziggler. You still got Paige and AJ going on. God help us all. I want to talk about that real quick. When it comes to the Divas, and the championship, I like that it's been one feud, and it's been hot-shotting of the title, and it sucks that we can't have any other Divas challenge for that title, namely, Nikki Bella didn't get the title, and Naomi can't get the title, Brie Bella can't get the title, and the reason for that is that I read is Vince McMahon doesn't want any of the Divas from the Total Divas cast to win the title just because of the time difference from when they have the title and they're taping the show to when the show airs. And I think that's pretty lame because, how many they show all these things about the WrestleMania, and then we see Total Divas, which is 6 months later or whatever, and they talk about how they felt about WrestleMania. Why would that make a difference to win the Divas title? The Divas Championship does not have to be part of the TV show.
Yeah, exactly, and it's kind of a really repetitive how it's being between AJ Lee and Paige, AJ Lee and Paige, AJ Lee and Paige, AJ Lee and Paige. It's all going on and on and on. Like, enough. Like, give someone else the belt. I don't care who, but right now, like, new champion, it's Paige, or new champion, it's AJ. It's like, people are sitting and say, new champion, who cares? Like, right now it looks ridiculous. It's ridiculous. They need to give the title on someone else. If it was twice, that's fine, but this has been too much. They need to get the title on another diva, and Vince McMahon knows what he's doing. Of course, he's the greatest man in this business. Like, arguably, like, one of the most successful people in this business, if not the most successful person in this business.
Mm-hmm.
But to see, like, I kind of want to see a new champion already in the Divas division, because it's kind of boring seeing it go between AJ and Paige.
And the problem with that is, the other Divas that are not on the show, I mean, you got Layla, Alicia Fox, and, I can't even remember anybody else off the show. Aside from AJ and Paige, there's Alicia Fox and Layla, and I'm drawing blanks, because the more popular Divas are on Total Divas.
You think about Total Divas, and it's like, why would WWE put on a reality show if it's a wrestling program? Like, I like Total Divas, it's interesting. I find it interesting because it's an interesting reality show, but I guess that's where the E comes in for entertainment, right?
Yeah. And see, the thing about that is, it's, whatever happens on the show, they portray into their storylines on TV.
Interesting.
You have Natalya and Tyson Kidd arguing on the show, and so that they portray that on Monday Night Raw the next night. Or you have Nikki Bella. I'm sorry, you have Naomi having an issue with Cameron on the show, and then they portray that on Monday Night Raw the next night. It's interesting how they're doing that. So you can't, when you have the title involved, you can't do that. But at the same time, like, I would love to see Naomi finally win the Divas Championship for once, Or, you could put the title on her on a pay-per-view and then have her lose the title 3 weeks later. It doesn't have to be quick. It doesn't have to be long, and it doesn't have to be while they're taping for the show. It could be during the off-season or whatever. I think it's stupid for that rule.
Exactly. I completely agree with you.
Brie Bella. Like to see her win the title again, and maybe, I thought Nikki Bella was going to win the title and then have a feud with Brie over the title. I thought that's what they were going when they added Nikki to that title match. It's Natalya, she's always been wanting to have the Divas Championship again, but with her on the show, she can't do that. It's stupid. It's a stupid rule.
Yeah, it is ridiculous.
But that's all I gotta say about that, and that's all I can add from SmackDown. So that's gonna do it. Monday Night Raw, we have Big Show versus Rusev, a rematch from SmackDown last week. You also have Roman Reigns will be giving an exclusive interview following his emergency surgery, so I can't wait to hear about that. And yeah, there's still we're gonna find out what Ambrose's reaction will be to Cena leaving him in the match, and the next update on Seth Rollins, how he's gonna keep running away from Ambrose and Cena. So yeah, Monday Night Raw is the next show. We're going to see what happens with all these storylines.
And, yeah, I'm looking forward to it. And, guys, I enjoyed co-hosting this show again. And, follow me on Twitter. And if that's it, Nick, if you want to finish it off. Oh, one other thing, too, is that Jordan Garber's World podcast, new show kind of, with my interviews, is coming up on the Angry Marks Podcast Network. So be sure to check that out coming soon. So hope you guys enjoy that for the future. And, hope you all have a good night.
Yeah, so stay tuned for that. And, check out AngryMarks.com for all the other podcasts on the network and for all the news articles, all the recaps, and everything else that we do here at AngryMarks.com. That's going to do it for this week's episode of the SmackDown Rundown. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.